Ta-da.
Ta-da.
There we go. Mics
Do we
on.
have sound?
Sounds on.
Can
Look at
someone
this.
tell me? Do we have sound?
We're good.
We're good.
Show
Okay.
number 10.
Very good.
Flux Neo.
Tamara Neo. This is Neo Mix Live. Thank you
Yes.
for coming and joining us this Friday night, 7:30. Not quite every Friday night, but
Well, we were off last week, and that's her fault.
oh, a fault.
No. She actually went out to Arizona to go see our middle child.
Yeah, I got a trip out to Arizona to see my my baby girl,
Yes.
do her homecoming thing. So when she moved there, I said, I'm missing everything. I didn't get to do senior prom with my senior last year, and I didn't get to do all the mom things senior year, and now I'm losing my baby girl, and I'm not going to get to do junior things and senior things with her. So I said, I'm going to fly out there.
Well,
So every dance, I'm out there. We're shopping. We're looking for the right dress. We're doing hair, and it was a great time. And she was a stunner.
well,
She's a stunner.
it wasn't for no reason, though. Last year, our oldest, she was at Massanutten Military Academy. So it was just the nature of her being at school.
Well, that and the whole pandemic thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that thing.
The no prom thing. The no nothing thing.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So they actually
Almost
restricted
no
that.
graduation thing.
Now, our middle child, the reason why she's out there, she wants to go to the University of Arizona. So the prospect of moving out there, being in state and all the like, she actually went out there as a junior in high school. So I think the commendable thing is that we've raised these very independent young women who have no compunctions about
No
going
fear.
out,
Nope.
doing life however they see fit. Now, there is some heavy overlays of parental expectations that
And
they hear
care
about
and
whether they like
monitoring
to or not. I think
Yeah.
my middle child, Axela, she's basically, it's almost like she holds herself because she knows I'm going to be like, oh, how are things going? And how's school? And what are your grades? And how's everything else going? So she's gotten used to the scrutiny because, with any of our kids, it's wonderful to encourage them, but the second there's any wavering, it's like this hammer comes down, and they know everything can get very ugly very quickly.
I think because we've seen, it only takes a small deviation, and
Sure.
if you don't correct it, you're on a different path in no time.
Well, and the kind of sad reality, and I think we see this a lot in our work, things happen in life, and it doesn't matter good family, well-to-do, doesn't matter a struggling family. You can have great kids, you can have kids who everything is provided to them, and they just fall flat on flat on their faces when they actually go out and have to fend for themselves. So it's just one of those things that. What do they call it? Helicopter parents.
I wouldn't call us helicopter.
I don't think we're that bad,
No,
but
but
we're what would you like a hovercraft?
We're drone
parent.
parents.
We're hovercraft parents where we can just sweep from
Nowhere.
land to sea,
We're
nowhere,
there.
and we're on you. But needless to say, that does set up our segment.
It did. Now, I've been talking about this trailer that I've renovated for her for some time, and I think there's one small segment about the backsplash I put up. But
the peel and
stick. Anyway, so part of the reason why I haven't done in the rest of it is because I could not get my middle child to take some final pictures for me.
Yeah, it was always manana.
I didn't quite finish when I left. It was 3 weeks we were out there, and I wasn't quite done. I'm like, did you put the towel rack up yet? Could you put the towel rack up so I could take a picture, or so you could take a picture for me?
Well,
so I finally got out there and I got my own pictures, and I put the towel rack up.
Well, provide some context though. So what we did is to kind of breed some quasi-independence. My brother, he lives on land that actually next to land that our grandfather actually raised us on for a spell. So it's land that literally my childhood was shaped by. But because of the acreage that my brother has, we were able to get a travel trailer and set up a travel trailer on his land. And he was diligent about getting hookups for electrical and sewage and water and all that.
Everybody has hookups out there in Arizona.
Yeah. So she actually gets her own kind of mini apartment experience where she has to kind of keep up. She has a little kitchen, and you'll see actually the pictures of it. It's actually very nice. But it kind of encourages her now to kind of have that sense of, this is my space. I need to keep it up, and there's nobody looking in on me to make sure that I clean the kitty litter box
Or
and take
do
out the trash and do
or
the
all
laundry.
that.
But
She's all on her own.
my understanding is the place wasn't a disaster.
It wasn't.
So she's learning.
Yeah.
So good. But you want to lay a foundation?
I got to do some photographs. So we will have several segments in the next several shows about all the renovations that I did. I took a 2012 really cute travel trailer, but it was all browns and taupes and that sort of color. And she wanted blacks and whites and buffalo check with little pops of cherry. And it is cute as a button. So this night's show is about the countertops. So the countertops were all this really fairly nice, but they were Formica with lots of browns, like I'm saying. And I renovated them all. We did them with 2 different substances. I did one with a Krylon epoxy spray paint. And I'm not typically a fan of Krylon. I'm typically a Rust-Oleum girl.
As a street kid, Krylon's awesome, but for very different reasons.
Well, Krylon was definitely the winner in this segment. It has an appliance epoxy paint that just did a beautiful job where I could spray. Now, there were a couple areas that I couldn't spray that I had to roll. And I have to remember the name of that product. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I'll think about it while this segment is playing, and I should be able to tell you. But it was a product that I got to just roll on like paint. And it was also an epoxy finish, so it was nice and bright and shiny and turned out pretty well.
Well, my understanding, though, is that a lot of the little projects and why this became kind of a thing to develop some videos around is because a lot of these things you've never done before.
No, I hadn't done any of that. I hadn't done the renovating the countertops. I dyed carpet. Did you know you dye carpet? I dyed carpet. I painted a floor. Let's see, what else did I do? Walls, decorations, the splash guard. Oh, and then the valances, the things that go around the window that make it sort of decorative. I reupholstered valances too. So there's quite a bit that we changed, and I think you'll get to see what the finished product is tonight when we roll this.
But there are going to be upcoming videos.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So definitely a reason to continue to check in to see how those come along. But you have a video of it.
I do.
So I do want to...
I'm back into my video making.
Yes, get to it and actually see what this all ends up looking like here. Let me see if I can get this to do what we need to here. Okay, well, let's see.
And
oh, no, there we go. We're back to our lovely technical difficulties. She had a little bit of a lag in her video.
I did.
There we go.
There we go. In the place of
Okay, it's coming. Yeah, come to the desert. Work in a trailer that you can't run the air conditioner and the doors are open. Yeah, but it's coming. So that one's got
solid 2-3 coats on it. This is the bedroom. Go up in there in a little bit. These are taped. These are the 2 bedside tables. And they are taped. Ready for me to roll on, because it was just the thought of having to paper off something this small, this bedroom is tiny, was just, no, that wasn't happening. So both sides are now taped. I can keep within those margins very well. So let's go into the rest of it. I'm gonna upgrade halfway, not halfway, but that one's also going to be rolled again because it's just such tight quarters. The thought of having to paper it was just not worth it. So it's going to be a dark gray. The roll-on stuff did not come black, and we really wanted to do black, but you can see it's coming. I would, for me personally, there's a nice one with the light. You can still see some differentiation of color. So while this may already have 2-3 coats on it, it's going to get 2 to 3 coats more. I want this just gleaming. And there it is. This one you can really see the modeling. So see how it's real shiny in some areas and kind of mottled. That's because I'm doing light even coats, but it takes it differently. It sucks it up. So at least 2 to 3 more coats. This one's taking it quite well. This is the tabletop that we removed. I was doing this one outside. It is too hot and it was not drying well. So all that modeling should have been sort of drying by now, and it's not. So it's going to sit in here. I'm not spraying probably until late this evening. So my lovely air conditioner is back on. So it's a-coming. It's a-coming. We're going to say goodbye to the brown carpet, to the brown linoleum. We're saying goodbye to the brown, you can still see some of it there, the brown Formica countertops. And we're gonna go, love the wood. The wood is actually, when it's not papered up, really pretty. Almost there, you can see that one. Almost like a cherry. Nice, and the black looks really pretty with it. Solid wood, good quality, good quality. So we're not going to cover those up at all. All right, it's a-coming. As I said, it's a-coming. Little bathroom, back into the bedroom. All taped and ready to go. Okay, see y'all later. Bye.
Well,
Isn't that cute?
very cute.
Isn't
very
that poppy?
Yeah, not my personal taste, but I think for a 16-year-old girl,
It was cute.
no, it is.
I don't care who you are. That was a
Well,
cute unit.
Yes, very nice, very tasteful, and I think from an expense standpoint,
Yeah.
manageable.
Oh yeah. Everything was kind of Walmarted and Lowe's
Yeah,
and
little Amazon here and there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
regardless, things that are pretty readily accessible time-wise, how much time did you have to spend?
Well, I spent 3 weeks out there all together, but I would say the first week was spent just finding the trailer and getting it located and kind of getting it situated.
What about your time as far as just the actual renovation time?
I'd have to sit here and really think about it. I know that spraying was done in 1 day.
Yeah.
So the countertops were sort of day one, because any
Sure.
overspray I wanted to be able to cover it up, whether it was on the floors or the walls or whatnot. But there really wasn't much overspray. That Rust-Oleum, that Krylon spray really did a good job. Now you can see, even when it was done, it wasn't perfect. But the bad spots that I was able to show you in the video, they, for the most part, I would say 90% cleared up, just with a few more, light coats and just patience. And bringing that one tabletop in from the extreme heat. This was done during July in the desert. Oh, God, it was awful.
Hot is an understatement. But it's drier, at least, so...
It's
I
hot.
think that helps, right? One question is that, you did this how many months ago now? When you first...
July.
So July, you just went out there last week.
Countertops
How
are
does it
still
look?
perfect. They look great.
Okay.
The floors are not the same. We had a water issue, and when I do the floors, I'll explain it. That the paint that I used for the floor worked pretty well, and until the floor was flooded. And so I do need to go back and address it. When they hooked it up with water, nobody thought, let's make sure all the faucets are off before we turn the water on.
Minor detail.
So, but no, the countertop still looked great. And the product that I rolled on was a Rust-Oleum product. So I used the Krylon spray on the kitchen countertop and on the tables that are there in the living room. And then I used this roll-on that just came out of a little pot. And it was a Rust-Oleum epoxy appliance paint. It was great.
Like... appliance paint?
Yeah.
Like just
Like for a refrigerator
Oh, okay.
or a grill or something like
interesting.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So heat, things like that, it does pretty well then, I presume.
It does. It
Okay.
does. And
Interesting.
it's handled a 16-year-old girl and everything she can throw on the bedside table pretty well.
Sure. Well, cool. It's one of those interesting projects that I think Tamara's the only person I would know who would put that time and effort in. Is it something that, like, in all candor, somebody, if they're just motivated, could figure out?
Anybody could do this.
Okay.
Anybody could do what I did. It was not complicated. It took patience to tape everything and to mask everything. And I was showing the frog tape. That's something that I swear by. And not the blue one, the green one. The green frog tape is exquisite in creating very sharp lines and coming up very easily. Sometimes when you use painter's tape and you let the paint dry and you go to pull it off, it will pull it off and then paint on the other side. That frog tape just doesn't do it. Now, it's expensive. So you might see that I was, where I knew there would be a paint line, I always used that green frog tape. But if it was just putting up the paper, I just used, cheap old masking tape to get it up. So, but
masking or like traditional painter's tape?
No, traditional masking tape to put paper up. It didn't really matter. But those sharp lines, I don't like that blue tape at all. The green frog tape, that's just the bomb. And if you want a really sharp line, like there's a point that I want to get into our dining room and create the look of wallpaper between semi-gloss and flat paint that's the same color. Just one stripe into the next. And the way you would do that is with that frog tape, and then you just press it down with a ruler. You just go over it so that line is really sharp on that paint, and should create a really great line, but I haven't done it yet, so I'll let you know.
Now, all this I'm seeing for the first time as well. One thing I did notice, you were holding your breath. How many brain cells were killed in the making of this video?
Okay, so this has been a back and forth throughout our entire marriage. I have painted and renovated and done things no matter where we lived, and when I was pregnant, I would always mask up.
Yes.
I'm not pregnant anymore. I'm not planning on being pregnant anymore. And,
so nuke the brain cells all you want. Is that the...
I did, when it was really bad, I did put on a respirator because one of those, the Rust-Oleum product, it's got a really powerful smell.
Yeah.
So yes, I was masked for that. But other than that, please, the doors are open, the windows are open, everything's open, I'll be all right. And apparently I am.
Okay. regardless, I guess what it is for me, I have a high sensitivity to chemical smells. I just have always been sensitive to it. I don't like it. I don't like how it makes my head smell or feel. But regardless, it's one of those things that those odors, they just wallop me. And so anytime I look at that, I can
big brain
feel
right
my
there.
frontal lobe just shrinking in the moments I'm around it. But I will admit, you do excellent work. Everything that we've done, whether it's at our office or house, what have you. I don't even pretend. I'm just like, you do whatever you want. I'm gonna just enjoy it. So, I do think our daughter's blessed to have a creative mother who's willing to put the time in. So
She wants
either
to go
way.
into interior design, so I
Yes.
think maybe there's some influence going
Yeah,
on, which
it's
would
rubbing
be
off.
amazing.
Yeah,
And,
be fun.
Arizona's a great place.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that,
Well,
both
there's-
in terms of school and in terms of lifestyle.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
There's a lot. Plus, Tucson's one market. Phoenix is, basically little Los Angeles. So huge growing opportunities out there for people who are creative.
Yeah.
Regardless, though, I kind of had an interesting rationale as to what I wanted to do for my segment today.
Okay.
So you got a little bit of a teaser of it because of my technical difficulties. Let me actually
I
pivot
put a
into
photo up
it.
on Instagram earlier, anyways.
Of what?
Of your knives sitting right there. I just thought that's a cool little picture, so I took it. I understand you're supposed to do this whole, vibe off of Instagram, and then you do it off of Facebook, and so that was my attempt. So there's a picture of your fun little knives up on Instagram right now.
Well, there's my segment.
Oh, like I know anything about it.
Thank you for giving it away. No build up, no nothing, just all punch.
Just teasers.
So, regardless, yes, I wanted to talk about knives, and not just kind of in the traditional sense, but in my day-to-day life. I have to wear a lot of sport jackets, suit jackets, and the like. And, in general, I kind of think about, concealability, being discreet about carrying certain types of things on me. It's the nature of the work that I do, so on and so forth. There are some situations where you do want to have some latitude to be able to concealed carry. I am someone who has a proper licensure to do that, and I will say anything that I'm saying here this evening is particular to folks who are in Virginia as far as any legal considerations. Concealing weapons of any sort, you need to obviously consult the state where you're in, if you need to talk to an attorney, so on and so forth. So everything that I'm commenting on is really kind of just utility driven, not really a legal analysis around it. Again, consult your laws. But regardless, being someone who, as you could tell from one of our other segments, I had a nice segment on swords, for example. Blade technology is just very, very cool. One area where that extends is into pocket knives. And pocket knives are one of those things that you can talk about straight blades, you can talk about folding knives, you can talk about kind of specialty blades of all sorts, shapes, sizes, materials, handle materials, lightweight, things that are more robust and designed to be beat up on, how well things sharpen. So there's all these layers to knives, and I know through subsequent shows, I'll probably end up delving into some of them. But for this evening, it struck me that I'm one of the few people that I know who's really kind of given some consideration to being discreet about when and how I may keep a knife on me. And that, varies to setting. And so I wanted to kind of take it from a traditional take, a true pocket knife, into things that are really kind of the evolution of pocket knives and more concealable knives. Such that people can just get some other thoughts and perspectives out there about how to be conscientious so as to not draw attention or make other people feel uncomfortable when you yourselves believe that it's important to have a little extra latitude for personal protection or just general utility. So to begin with, and I want to kind of go into this and everything that I am talking about, I actually do myself own. So I don't talk about much that I haven't, really put my money behind. But this is a traditional design in that it's a standard folding knife. And I've got up here a little image of what I'm talking about here. The blade that I'm holding is actually the one in the upper portion of the picture there. It's an Orso blade. Knife manufacturers actually out of Italy. But this specific design is by Jen Onso. And the nice feature about this one and why I wanted to go with this model of it is because of the carbon fiber. You can tell in the image there that you've got something that looks like carbon fiber, but no, it is in fact carbon fiber. And when you actually look at the knife and hold it, it's a thick chunk of it. So what it does is it provides an ultra rigid handle, but is amazingly lightweight. The relative balance of this blade, if you were to put it on most other handles, this would be a pretty heavy unit to carry about. But by looking at carbon fiber options, which have matured, knives and knife technology utilizing carbon fiber, a lot of people have put it to good use. Isn't that remarkable how lightweight it is? But from the standpoint of what I like about something of this nature is that, again, it is lightweight. So you can put it in your pocket, and in so doing, here you got to
Get that up there.
I think you have to move it around a little. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work. The pictures do it more justice anyways.
Yeah.
But this blade here, it's a Viper Knives. They call it the Orso. Blade length 3.375 overall, just over 8 inches. That means, when you're talking about overall, you're talking about the blade when it's fully extended and opened. It's a very traditional straight blade with the drop point, which is just the design of the actual blade itself. But this is milled carbon fiber. So they've actually taken a CNC machine and then finished it to give it its shape. Machines that are designed to cut shapes in different rigid materials. You can use it with carbon fiber. You can use it with metals, steels, titaniums, aluminums, things of that nature. It's like a computer aided system for cutting designs.
I see.
So pretty cool stuff. Modern technology has allowed us to do a lot as far as interesting designs, but the part that clearly is most appealing for me is the fact that this is such a lightweight knife. So from a standard viewpoint, this is something that a lot of people are probably pretty familiar with the design. There isn't anything very special other than maybe the materials that this knife is made out of. But it's a pretty standard pocket knife. I will say you can see here where the actual clip is. I intentionally wanted to get something outside of your traditional, and I'll show this by way of example. A lot of your traditional pocket clips kind of bend up at the end. And the problem is if you're somebody that gets into a vehicle regularly, that pocket clip can often hook on your steering wheel and basically damage the material on your steering wheels or other components of your automobile when you're getting in and out of it all the time. So another nice benefit of this design, something that stood out, is that it flattened the edges so as to not have anything that would protrude that would likely catch and damage a steering wheel when you're getting in and out. I carry it in my right pocket, so it's just kind of one of those things that I try to give a little thought to everything that I do and think about a lot of the utility. But when you look at materials, going with more modern carbon fibers, things like that, draws down the weight. So that's one consideration for concealability that I think is important. Another, and I did point this out, and I'll kind of move on with the slides here. This is a nice Benchmade. And you can see here, I put it in my pocket here in the picture. You can see that the accessory here, the actual clip that comes on it, the actual pocket clip, sits higher. So the actual top portion of the knife itself would stick out of your pockets. And, it becomes one of those things that makes it more noticeable. It makes it just more easy to catch on things. And I found that for these Benchmade blades, there was an aftermarket producer who had done, in essence, a deep pocket clip that was an aftermarket add-on. But what you can see in that picture is the fact that now it sits deeply into my pocket. So it does help somewhat with concealability overall. There's less for the knife to catch on if you're getting in and out of things or if you're moving around. So that was kind of one of considerations for me. Now this blade is actually a wonderful blade. The Benchmade, both the Orso as well as this Benchmade, both use the M90 or 390 steel, which is just, it holds an edge very, very well. Now this Benchmade's an assisted opening unit, and it's actually got kind of an interesting means. Whereas a lot of blades may have a clip here that you press to the side and then you can collapse your blade. This one, it actually has a little lever that you drop back and then you can close the blade down.
That's nice.
As you can hold it, you can see no carbon fiber. And what's it do to the weight?
A lot heavier.
Lot heavier. Now this one again is nice because it's such a robust, well-made American blade. And design is just phenomenal on these. This is the Benchmade Barrage. It's an Osborne design that's on it. And anybody that knows knives knows that Benchmade, they put out an excellent product. But here was kind of a consideration around concealability that just by adding one little accessory, all of a sudden I was able to kind of sink that a little bit further into my pocket. And that's great for casual wear. That's great when I'm just kind of looking for a little utility. I'm doing something where, it just makes sense to make sure that I have a blade on me. Most of the time, I'm not somebody that typically thinks in terms of self-defense when it comes to blade technology. I think firearms provide a lot of utility because people who might be threatening can't get as close to you if you're well trained and know what to do with firearms. But as a last resort, clearly blade technology is helpful. But for me, again, I look at it primarily from a utility standpoint. There are just some situations where just having a knife on you is convenient and handy. But
There's a tag here. Could you get this?
yes, sometimes. But one of the other things, though, is this is great, as I said, for casual attire. What do you do when you're in a business setting? What do you do when you're somewhere where, running around with a pocket knife in your slacks just literally makes no sense? Not only because the slack materials may be too nice to be charring or marring with the clip in your pocket, but sometimes it's nice to have it in a jacket where just the natural fold and form of the jacket itself functions as a great means to conceal what you may have on you. Plus, you may have money, you may have other credit cards, you can have pens, things like that just cumulatively help to shield things that may otherwise be inside of a breast pocket. So I know that in kind of evolving this discussion in my own mind, because obviously talking about this stuff with folks, sometimes they're like, okay, dude, whatever. I never really would have given a thought to that ever. But here is kind of an interesting little take.
How do you pronounce that?
Kaiser Soze.
Kaiser Soze.
And I'll explain that. That will sound familiar to you. But here's a fun concept. And this is something that's taken me kind of a while to do research on. The picture there, the first one, where the knife is actually in the pocket completely and totally, kind of looks like a pen.
Kind of does.
You would have no idea about the shape. You wouldn't necessarily know, but for maybe reaching into a pocket and handling it, you wouldn't know what you're dealing with. But as you can see in the next picture, when you physically pull this thing out, you're talking about a pretty substantial blade. Overall length on this one is about 8.3 inches. The blade itself, 3.65. So this is a a blade that, if you were in a vulnerable spot, could do some very serious damage.
Now, is there carbon in this one?
This one has carbon fiber in the handle to help cut down on some of the weight. But additionally, a lot of these components on it are titanium.
Oh.
So this one, it's interesting. You just kind of give it a flip.
Oh,
but
what an
now,
interesting looking blade.
yeah, it is a true dagger that is smart in its design, because when you fold it over, it actually, marries quite nicely into this very compact design. But again, from the standpoint of a pocket, by the time it gets to this tapering at the top, it would look like a pen to an untrained eye. Very cool, very slick, fun design. Here, what they've done is on one side, because you obviously have to close this thing, one edge of it is sharpened, and it's very sharp. The other side, you press in, and it's actually dulled. They've not sharpened it so that you can actually handle the blade safely without marring yourself, regardless, just because of the blade design itself. Clearly a very potent weapon if you ever needed to make use of it. So the carbon fiber helps, but the rest of the titanium and the like goes a long ways towards making this something that doesn't drag down your jacket, which is clearly kind of the fun part of this for me, is that it provides some utility without creating something that in and of itself becomes its own headache and hassle.
How do you clean and care for it and keep it from rusting and deteriorating?
Quality of the metal.
Really?
The metal is of such a high grade and high quality that you don't worry about rusting when you actually invest in good quality blades. Now, there are some blades that have high carbon content. It does help to oil, and it does help to maintain them. But a lot of these blade types, like the M390s, those, there's no maintenance. I just beat on them, and they're impervious to most everything. And I'm not somebody that's savage with my blades. I do care for them properly, but they don't require anything special per se. So when you're in the market for someone as a gift or for yourself, just focus on the quality. Learn a little bit about blade materials, and it can go a long ways. And anybody has questions, I'm happy. I presume to be no expert for anything, but I do spend a lot of time researching things before I buy them myself. I figure if you're going to put good money behind something, you might want to have a sense as to what you're getting. But to kind of explain, you asked what the name's from. Do you remember the old movie, The Usual Suspects?
I do.
The Kevin Spacey, of Kevin Spacey fame, or infamous Kevin Spacey.
We're not going there.
These days. He has a whole segment where he's building up to this Kaiser Soze, and it's kind of a play on, you think it's a usual knife, but then because of its design, it's discreet, you find out it's something very different than what you'd initially had thought. And so that's where the actual blade name comes from, is the kind of lead storyline from The Usual Suspects. So kind of a different concept. So here it wasn't so much about just materials. It was about design and making sure that we had a design that in and of itself provided a level of discreetness that allows me to take a sports coat, have a knife in it, a full blade, but something that otherwise most people wouldn't ever know to anticipate, to look for, and wouldn't necessarily draw anyone's attention.
On one of your slides, you listed the designer of
Yes.
the knife. I didn't even think about obviously somebody has designed every one of these knives, but you have them by name.
Yeah, all of these. This is when you start getting into higher end blades, design and designers, they literally laser etched into every one of these blades is the designer who actually took the time to, and the ingenuity associated with creating this. So there's a lot of pride that goes into these things.
I'm sure.
They're often per se limited edition. It's not like they're sold as limited edition, but just circumstantially. They just put out so many in the market for that year's design. Everything that I have here, I now believe is quote unquote discontinued. So if you're into the market of these things, sometimes that can mean something to you, getting a cool knife that they don't, have available any longer. I'm not into collecting for that purpose. Maybe my kids will benefit from foresight on my part. For me, I care about just utility and practicality because I do use these things a lot. So it kind of gives you a sense, kind of gives you an overview of some additional things to think about. Now, I will say this. There is another arena, and I've encountered this in scenarios where you're out and you have lanyards, things like that you're carrying around. They now make a lot of blades that are very discreet, very compact, that you can put behind a card. If you have an ID card, things like that. Carbon fiber. Every bit of this is carbon fiber. They're not so much a cutting blade. They're more for defensive purposes. But,
it feels like paper.
Feels like paper, but robust.
Yeah,
These are things that would puncture flesh readily. Very lightweight, as you can,
Who's the maker of
very
this
well
one?
see. This one,
I can't quite read that.
Bastian. Yeah, this is a Bastian, and I forget who this one was. I think it was just somebody that just did a limited run. But this is a Bastian. They're actually known for putting these out. But these are cool because they are effective, lightweight, discreet. I will say this, though. Be conscientious because things like this, if you forget that they're on you, they go through metal detectors. These are not metal. So you do have to make sure that you don't have a lackadaisical moment and forget and get yourself in trouble because you've gone through a machine that would otherwise try to pick up for metal of this nature. But if you have one of these on you, you always have to, be conscientious about where you're at, what you're doing, so as to not get yourself in any undue legal jeopardy, as they say.
Sure.
But regardless, lightweight,
Very nice.
convenient, discreet. Another thing to think about, if knives are not your thing, but you still want to have some flexibility, tactical pens. And I can maybe think about doing a video on tactical pens. Do you own some?
I got one for Christmas one year.
Yeah, and tactical pens, they may have a kind of a fancy name, but what they are is just a pen, a standard writing utensil. I actually use them every day in court myself because they actually are great, writing instruments.
Yeah.
But because of the materials that often these are made of, I have some that are made out of pure titanium. They will never break. And if you're in a situation where you needed to have some form of minimum defense for yourself, you could still utilize that as a way to kind of calm somebody down if need be, or distract them so that you can exit without compromising.
I would be here, take this and do something.
Without compromising rules of situations and environments that may control the appropriateness of you having certain forms of protection on you. So just some things to think about. I think it'd be interesting, at least from my standpoint, if other folks have any ideas of things that I haven't kind of covered. And just really, this is just a way to think about kind of self-defense, discrete forms of protection that allow you to have an extra bit of peace of mind in, really diverse settings. Let me know. I'm always kind of intrigued and interested. There's so much cool technology out now. So many people have gotten into the marketplace that just the creativity abounds. And there's so much coming out all the time. I make a pretty good effort at keeping up. But even, any one person, unless this is your business per se, you're never going to appreciate everything that's going on out there. So I'm very interested in hearing any input that anyone has, posting any pictures, anything that you may have come across yourself, because I do buy this stuff. For me personally, it's not just cool from a technological standpoint, but from a utility standpoint. It's important to make sure, obviously, as I've said in all things, get some training, know how to handle things safely
Know
and
what the law
securely,
is in your area.
and know what the law is. I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Very good.
That's one thing we do always agree
Oh yes,
on.
if you get in trouble, we know a couple lawyers who can help you.
Hopefully you never need us.
No.
Please. Just learn in advance what not to
Yes,
do.
that's the way to do it.
Versus making the mistake in the first place.
Yeah.
But overall, I think for this evening, that was my main thing. I wanted to go over this, and I think it's one of those fun topics that, how you think about these things. I'm going to have my take on it, but everybody has their own little spin. So I think that's part of the fun of this, is getting a different mix of perspectives.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for joining us.
Yes,
Yet
very
one
much
more
so.
Friday night. This is our fun Friday night date night.
Is that what it is?
This is what it is. We get
Okay.
dressed up. I put on makeup.
I
You
comb
might
my
get,
hair.
You might get lucky.
Oh, really? Is that all it takes? Wow, this is easy. But regardless, if you have been following us on YouTube, please subscribe.
Yes.
If you are keeping track of what we're doing through Facebook, go ahead and like and share our videos. What we're trying to do is make sure that we can grow this station. And the cool part is, or channel I should say, is that it's all completely organic.
Yeah.
That's been kind of the fun, interesting part, is that we don't know what's going to be interesting one week to the next. So you experiment a little, but it's been fun to kind of watch what takes off, what isn't so interesting to folks, even though I think it's deeply compelling. But regardless, definitely don't be shy. Feel free to give us some input, and make sure that if there are things that you do like, let us know. Okay?
Okay.
Well,
I think that's
appreciate
it.
it. Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a
Thanks.
good evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.